$1 guest star, man.
Nobody calls Han Solo a bitch.
Bring him on. I prefer a straight fight to all this sneaking around.
I don't know where you get your delusions, laser brain.
Oh, come on, bro. It's the wars.
All right, so now we're less than a week away from E4 and the premiere of The Bad Batch. And, this is The Wars and More. I'm Joe. And of course, with me is my good buddy, Doug. Hey, Doug, how you doing this week?
Doing pretty good, Joe. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm kind of wondering what the hell else is happening on May 4th.
Star Wars?
I mean, we got Bad Batch.
Right.
I've been like checking back on StarWars.com, like what merchandise is coming, like what else is happening. Like it's May 4th, right?
Right. Usually that is
and then,
an indicator.
Yeah.
Something's going on.
And it's like they got an article. It's like 5 ways to celebrate Star Wars Day. Watch The Bad Batch.
Okay.
And then make your own Star Wars stuff at home. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Oh, I have got the perfect idea. Grogu avocado toast. Hey, just saying.
Grogu avocado toast.
Yeah, well.
I mean, sounds like a lot of effort for avocado toast.
It certainly is.
Yeah, it's like there's just like what does it say here? So Yoda pancakes, a Princess Leia rice bowl.
See, I'm not far off here. This is
no. Bantha blue butter sandwich cookies.
Okay.
Or choose your favorite healthy snack, like fruit TIE fighters. Now there is taking the simple route.
Oh heck yeah! I like it.
I'm gonna cut fruit into the shape of a TIE fighter.
I love it.
But no, this is baffling to me.
Yeah, this is something that this was always a big deal, right? I mean,
yeah, at least from the StarWars.com portion. There are other sites that have put out what they're doing, things like that, like Lego's got their thing going on.
Sure.
But normally StarWars.com likes to put this stuff centralized, right? They kind of put it out there. These are the things that you can do to celebrate Star Wars Day.
Right.
Because this is StarWars.com and this is what we do. Star Wars is what we do, so here's everything going on.
Yeah. Not so much, huh?
Yeah, where is it?
Well, hey, maybe they're busy. I don't know.
Yeah, it'll come out in the time period between this podcast and our next podcast.
Yeah, probably so. That would
which means pretty much May 4th.
Right.
Here's all the things to do today.
Yeah.
Well, I wish I would have planned for this.
Yeah. It's kind of how it goes.
So, yeah, just kind of odd.
Yeah.
But I know I'll be watching Bad Batch.
That's for sure. That's a given.
That's for sure. I guess they feel like this was good enough.
Yeah, well.
I'm saying this, or like, we made a 70-minute Star Wars cartoon.
Right.
That ain't enough. I mean, it is, but if you don't want my money as well, I mean.
Yeah, here you are, trying to give them your money.
Yeah. Yeah, in all honesty, yeah, that's kind of ridiculous. Ain't it?
Exactly.
Like, how come you ain't got nothing for me to buy?
Oh, that's funny.
All right. So we started talking about the Duel of the Fates comic, the fan-made comic.
Yes.
I believe we covered the first 3 issues.
Yes, we did.
So I guess we'll take this time to cover the last 4.
Yep, 4.
4. I want to get that right. Well, I got to say.
I heard that.
Yep. My opinion has not changed much.
Okay.
I'm happy it's here.
Right.
Just to reiterate, my stance is I'm happy we've we got this look at it. I'm happy he did this. Not really my cup of tea.
Okay. And what does it mean? I mean, you like the comic itself, but that whole storyline you don't care for?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little too punny.
Right. Okay. So yes.
I think this what's his name? Darth Sidious's master. We touched on him with the third book.
Right.
Go up here and get his name.
Is it Valen?
I really did not like this character. I thought it
Right.
was awkward.
Yeah, it was okay. So I have to agree with you on that one.
Tor
Valen. That's it. Yep. There are things, okay, about this script, we'll call it, that I liked, and there are things that I could have done without. I mean, essentially, we got a lot of this anyway. Tor Vellum, as far as the character goes, okay. Like him, not like him. That's something that probably could have been dealt with in a different way, further revisions. But, like Kylo could have found this power in some other fashion, holocron, whatever. But
yeah, don't get me started on his power.
why? I mean, we saw that essentially.
Yeah.
With Sidious in The Rise of Skywalker.
Yes. I don't really know how I felt about it then either.
Right.
It was, yeah, I mean, draining the life out of two beings right in front of you and then stopping to just boast.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's, typical supervillain,
Yeah. Typical Sidious, but
right.
yeah, I don't know. I just not a huge fan of that being the power to go with to like say, oh look, they're badder still.
Right.
It's like they had to continuously up the ante, right? Like,
yes, there was definitely that.
I mean, just like this whole, like in this one, this 7,000-year-old being, I'm like,
yeah, I know. See, I don't know. You don't like them, but when 7,000 years old you reach, yeah, look as good you'll
right.
Want. Yeah. I know. You're probably surprised they didn't say that, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm really surprised they didn't say that. Or did they?
No, they did not. There's a lot of that kind of stuff that was in this too. You said it last time, that we talked about this. There was, a lot of callbacks, especially to the original trilogy. Cutting to the chase, we have our medal ceremony at the end. We have just, man, there's lots of, we have Poe Dameron saying, wow, that's one hell of a pilot. I don't know. Again, I think that a lot of that kind of stuff would probably work its way out of the story if this were allowed to, move forward. So things I did like, I'm just going to throw this out there. You have basically 3 separate storylines going on all at once, culminating to a certain point in the story for all of them, and that's kind of when the tide turns, and things go better for the Resistance, and they end up victorious. That's typical Star Wars right there. It's kind of like the game plan. So I kind of like that.
Yeah.
I did like that Finn actually had like a bigger role in rallying the troops, basically, so to speak. And
yeah, I did notice he still does a lot of like yelling random people's names.
right.
Rey, Rose.
But it's clear that the quote unquote legend of Finn, 2187, has made its way through the ranks of the stormtroopers, and they kind of like the little symbolism of the the blood on the armor, like we saw on Finn's in The Force Awakens.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was actually a nice little touch in this comic. It was kind of like, this whole thing's kind of worked its way through the ranks, and Finn was actually able to rally them together and get them to turn their weapons on the First Order. It was kind of cool.
Yes, I will say this too. I did like it more in this, because that's what they tried to convey that he did in The Rise of Skywalker.
Right, but yeah, that's what they
But
tried.
they were already resisting.
Yes. They heard about him.
They had already abandoned the First Order.
Yep.
In this one, he's fighting alongside stormtroopers that are still wearing stormtrooper armor.
Right.
It really drove it home that he was able to turn others.
Exactly. And then
I like the markings too.
Yes.
I thought that was a nice touch.
Yeah.
Another thing I liked in this is the callback to Rey's vision. Where she saw the red lightsaber.
Oh yeah.
The Knights of Ren. This instead linked it to Kylo was actually responsible for killing her parents.
Right.
I kind of like that avenue, even though I still kind of like the way they handled it in The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
Because it was Kylo's lightsaber, killing one of the Knights of Ren.
Right.
It was subtle in The Rise of Skywalker, and they didn't really address it as such, but you could tell it was that.
Right.
So it was a premonition for Rey in that, as opposed to a memory.
Yes. I gotta say, we actually find out Rey's surname in this, and it's not Skywalker. I thought that was nicer.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me,
It's hard not to be.
What's that?
It's hard not to be.
Yeah, well, I just had to mention it because, I don't know. The whole Rey Skywalker thing is like, okay, we're going to take this, lineage and kind of co-opt it. But I don't know. There's a lot of stuff. Even the way, Rey and Kylo's fight goes, the back and forth with the, the whole life force thing. And it's like, okay, that was kind of lifted from here, you know, and used in the Rise of Skywalker. But you know, that is what it is, I guess. We got to see a little more in depth. It looks like we would have actually crossed over with Rey to actually, what you become one with the Force, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which would have been interesting to see on screen. You know, I'm not quite sure how I feel about it. I guess if you know, we could have seen it on screen, then I'd have a better you know, thought on that. But I like that they're thinking outside the box with that kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel about blinded and then blindfolded Ray?
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things where you have to do something. That was definitely plot device, right? You had to do something to put her in the down and out position to come back from without, you know, flat out killing her at that point or you know, dismembering her. You know, and the whole idea that a Jedi can see without their eyes, you know, we kind of know that already. So it is very reminiscent of Kanan Jarrus, though. I will say.
Yeah.
I did like, I gotta say, how Luke, as a Force ghost, grabs the blade of Kylo's lightsaber and stops it. That was kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty sweet.
Yeah. You know, a lot of stuff here is very reminiscent of the Rise of Skywalker. You know, 1,000 ships coming to aid them. You know, that's Lando. You know, this whole part here with Hux, you know, taking himself out with Mace's lightsaber, that would probably, you know,
yeah, falling on the blade.
That'd probably raise the hackles of a bunch of people, that's for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, I like it. You know, it's a very like Roman Empire.
Oh, sure.
Or samurai
yes.
thing to do.
Yep.
And I like that. That is a choice that, I feel given the right opportunity, that would be a choice George would probably make, because it is a callback to that kind of stuff.
Right.
It was a long tradition in, you know, fighting forces throughout history for, you know, leaders and generals and things like that.
Right.
To do something like that as opposed to capture. So I was like, yeah, that was a very, you know, Luke Asian thing to do.
Right.
And I thought it was appropriate given the situation.
Yep. You know, as opposed to what we got with the, you know, spy, you know.
Yeah, I just didn't get the whole, like, he would betray everything he believed in.
Yeah, just because he hates Kylo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know how I feel about, not to jump around again, I don't know how I feel about doing another throne room scene.
Right.
And having the same medals. Like, you didn't get new medals? Like,
yeah, exactly. I will say, one thing that's for sure is if this would have come to fruition, something we talked about, you know, way back in regards to the Rise of Skywalker is, you know, we wondered what they were going to do with Leia. And in this version, she would have definitely had to have been recast.
yes.
Because played too prominent of a role in this storyline, and there was no footage of this for them to alter and insert. So,
Right.
I do like the fact they were at Coruscant again too. Because it's established in the prequels, that's like the seat of power in the galaxy. That's
Right. Yeah, and you almost kind of wonder, you see the seat of the New Republic, right?
right.
And they're on Hosnian instead of
Right.
Coruscant. It's like, well, I don't really understand that choice. I mean, doesn't seem like the best location.
Yeah. Yeah.
And two, it seemed like it was too close to the First Order. I mean, I understand this is a hyperspace weapon, but still.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. With Coruscant being the capital for so long, we're talking thousands of years.
Right.
I don't know. I would have liked to have seen them take it back to that, because kind of finish it where it began.
Well, they tried too hard to not go anywhere where they've been.
True. Good point. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
What planets did they return to in the sequel trilogy?
Oh,
Tatooine at the very last scene.
yes. Yeah, that's it.
Other than that, it was all new.
Yep, and all of them were reminiscent of things that we'd seen before. Really.
Right, and none of them were planets that were known.
No.
I mean, the exception being what Starkiller Base was made out of Ilum.
Yeah, but that if you're not like us and you're just going to see the movie, you'd never know.
You didn't know that. They didn't
Right.
say it.
Right. Yeah.
So, okay, let's run back through this again. I mean, we're basically glossing over it because we don't want to like read the comic to anybody.
True.
And we don't want to just say everything that happened. That's not what we're trying to do here.
Right.
We want people to read it for themselves.
Yes, go read it for yourself. Listen to our take on it here. Yeah.
But highlights in this comic series to you, like what stood, and I am kind of confused. I'll say this. They talked about there might be more. I don't really see how you get more out of this.
No.
I mean, it seems pretty wrapped up.
It's wrapped up as far as I can tell. Yeah.
But what stood out to you along the way as like strong moments and stuff you really would rather have seen come to fruition?
Okay. Things that stood out to me. Finn had a larger role.
Yes.
Rose had a larger role. And the part she was played right into her expertise, which was kind of cool. I mean,
yeah, I did like that because I did think the transition for her in The Rise of Skywalker didn't make a whole lot of sense.
Exactly. Yes,
you go from this mechanic to just military leader with no explanation whatsoever.
Right.
And I understand that's the fault of the storytelling.
Yes.
Not saying it's not a path that could have been achieved, but there was no lead up to it.
Right.
How many battles did you fight? What did you do to learn how to do this?
The only thing that was kind of a throwback to that was what was it? We're looking at their blueprints of their ships or something like that or something. I don't know. I forget. From The Rise of Skywalker. I don't know. But it's like, yeah, she was like in a completely different role from movie to movie. And I think that didn't serve the character well.
No.
Here,
no, and like
in this story, she's actually you know, actually doing stuff that pertains to her character from the previous film, and, you know, actually has trouble doing what she intends to do, but then thinks on her feet and does something else to make, you know, the same result happen, you know, kind of thing.
Right.
So that's, again, helps
No, it
the
was
character.
much better done.
Yes. I liked the fact that we got some Obi-Wan and Yoda, I guess. You know, that part, I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I'd like that in the film, but I'm curious if I would have liked that in the film, if that makes sense. The whole part where Rey actually becomes one with the Force and actually sees the old Jedi Masters. But how do you feel about that?
No, I like this whole cosmic force thing. Like, I think that would have been interesting to see, especially in a finale.
Right.
You know, it doesn't unravel the mystery, but it kind of does.
Right.
Like, it gives you a peek.
Yep.
I like that. I like, you know, they really hit on this Mortis thing throughout the whole thing, and I was kind of terrified of that.
Yeah.
But nothing really came of it.
No, nothing came of it, and I think, to be perfectly honest with you, I was thinking about this because I think you mentioned before that you weren't keen on the whole Mortis thing. I think that whole storyline could have taken place on Octu instead.
Oh, I mean, it could have taken place literally anywhere else.
Right. But, you know, first Jedi Temple, blah, 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 you know, Kylo's looking for some sort of, you know, superpower, you know, all that sort of thing. I mean, it could have taken place there. It's some place that we are familiar with now, you know. You're not introducing a whole new location for the uninitiated.
One thing that didn't get explained in that panel, like, you know, you talked about, like, they did this, you know, force energy swap, right?
Right.
You know, he steals her life essence.
Yep.
And then, like, when he touches her hand, does it, like, naturally go back to her, or does she take it from him? Because if she took it back, it's like, why did you go learn from this creature how to do this if she can just do it?
I think he gave it back to her.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't say that.
They don't say that, but isn't it, correct me if I'm wrong, is that not the time when, the moment when Leia is reaching out to him?
Yes.
Okay. I think that's what did that. Leia reached out to him, and he finally understands. You know, that's one, you know, that's one thing, you know, maybe we'll get to. I think there's always been a redemption for Kylo Ren, for Ben, you know, but you know, it always came with his death. So,
Well, I don't think a redemption without death for him could have happened. Period.
right, exactly.
You know, you don't go around and, you know, commit genocide and then get to live a, you know, a normal life. There are certain lines that you cross that there's nothing coming. There's no way you can come back from it.
Right.
Genocide's one of them.
Yes.
So, you know, there's no, you know, going to get coffee on Saturday mornings for him after that, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. You see him pull his TIE fighter up to the Starbucks, he'd probably get blasted.
Yeah.
So the one thing I was a little, the part that I did not understand quite here is we were talking about how he gives the life force back to Rey,
Mm-hmm.
and then she kind of cradles him as he, passes on, and then she passes on. I don't get it. It's like,
Yeah,
what
I
made
didn't understand her death at that point.
Yeah, what made her? Yeah, so that was a little weird, but okay, that I think, to be perfectly honest, was explained better in The Rise of Skywalker. And I know I've made fun of that scene, the whole passing it back and forth thing, but it made a little more sense than this one did. So
Yeah, and for her to die right after that, like, this is the living force flows back into Rey, both light and dark swirl within her.
right,
So like they're like, it's like, oh crap, here they go. They're gonna do the Grey Jedi thing.
yeah,
Never mind, she's dead. I don't know why, but she's dead.
exactly. I did like, I talked about that moment, that culmination of, all these different arcs going on, these different plots and subplots. And there's that moment where everybody kind of knows, this is it, Rey, go fight, I thought it was kind of cool that even the, quote unquote, non-Force users could, like, they got a feeling and they're like, yeah, go,
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of neat because, I don't know, it just touches on that, sometimes you have a feeling about something and you just know that it's right, kind of thing,
Yeah, another thing I did enjoy in this too is it seemed like everybody played a part in victory.
Yes.
That's not something that I really felt with The Rise of Skywalker.
Right.
It seems like everybody else was just there to delay things so Rey could do her thing. And then once that happened, it was over.
Exactly. Yes, there was, there were things. Yeah, The Rise of Skywalker. The whole, I don't know, the whole whatever, the transmitter dish thing on the ship, and then they just, okay, we'll transfer power to whatever. It's like, wait a minute, if it's that easy, then why are we having this big force to try and, like, force attacking in order to take this dish thing out? I don't know. Yeah, that was, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But anyway, overall, my opinion, well worth the read. There are things to like. There are things to, be a little critical of, but overall, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, like I said, it's not, overall, it's not exactly what I'd be looking for.
Right?
But I'm glad we got it.
Yes.
There were things I liked, more than a few things that I disliked, but it didn't sully the experience for me. I still enjoyed reading it and getting a different look at how things could have went. And to actually, like, see it, right? Not read some crappy copy of a script.
Right. Yes. Yeah, it's nice to have the visuals go along with it.
Yeah, I enjoyed this. Overall experience, it was enjoyable to do, even if it wasn't my favorite.
Have something to add to the conversation? Or you just want to let us know how we're doing? Email us, show@thewarsandmore.com. That's the best place to get in on the action. But if social media is a little more to your liking, @TheWarsAndMore on Twitter is always a good place to interact with us. And we're also on Facebook, facebook.com/TheWarsAndMore. And of course, your portal to this and everything else, The Wars and More, is thewarsandmore.com.
All right, so the last few months with things at Lucasfilm have been, kind of turbulent, right?
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
There's been all kinds of rumors and speculations. This person's out. This person's out. These people are actually out.
Right.
just lots of rumors flying about. Which I guess when news is slow, this is what happens, right?
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
You get all kinds of rumors, and so and so's gone. Big changes coming. They're not making any money. Well, they're not putting anything out, so that makes sense. But rumors and speculation are funny because when we dive into these, it's like this might all be a load of crap, right?
Right.
We don't know if this is true or not, especially when we turn to such reputable sources as Reddit.
Yeah. Hey, that's where we get all the good stuff.
Yeah, and some of it's BS.
Yeah, sometimes that's true.
I mean, it was fun to talk about, but it just wasn't worth anything.
Right.
So this is one of those moments where it could be true. It could be load of crap.
That's very good point. And I will say this poster, Reddit poster, actually says as much. So for a little background here, this is a Reddit post about what happened with the Disney sequel trilogy and the changes to Episode 9. Okay, it's been around for a couple weeks, but figured now would be a good time to talk about it, and we'll just cherry pick it here and go over some of these things. This is somebody who says, I worked on the sequel trilogy for its entire run, from The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, The Rise of Skywalker. That's the world has changed, as has my position in the roots of this tree. In the next coming days, weeks, months, there will be several leaks due to shakeups at Lucasfilm. Leaks have become a part of the culture of the company. I wanted to set some matters straight before that occurred. It goes into who am I? Does it matter? There's nothing I could provide to convince everyone who I was without doxing myself. Gotta make a point.
I mean, you could just say your name.
Well, yeah. But it says, take this as gospel or with a grain of salt. So there you go.
Oh, so he's not saying that it could be BS. It's like take it as it's gospel or just somewhat true.
Well, the grain of salt thing, that's pretty much how we look at a lot of things that end up being, well, that was a load of crap, so.
Yeah, but I feel like grain of salt, when you say take it with a grain of salt, it's like there may be some truth to it. Like you never say it like take it with a grain of salt. That's total crap, right? Like you don't say that when something's total crap.
Well, I understand what you're saying. I'm sure that from their position, they're figuring this is all true, but who knows?
Right. My whole stance on this, and I've made this very clear throughout our time doing this podcast. Anonymous sources say, I work here. I get very skeptical when I hear these things.
Uh-huh.
And there are no names associated with it. Okay?
Yep.
This is not top secret government stuff that you're leaking. This is, fantasy.
Right. The only thing about that, though, is that, I'm sure these people like their jobs, So if they said, it's me who's saying all this, that could be the end of that.
I understand.
Yeah. So.
But still.
Yeah. So all that being said, some of the things that have been speculated on in recent times that they address here, say there's never been a cultural civil war at Lucasfilm. Okay, I think we've kind of touched on that. That was our thoughts, with a lot of the people, a lot of the fan base, YouTube channels and such, kind of implying that.
I always took that as no way this is happening, right?
Right. So, let's see. Certain members of the Lucasfilm Story Group, Pablo, desired to see
that guy.
Yeah. Oh, here. Desired to see Star Wars resemble a D&D campaign. More aesthetic, less
Ooh.
narrative.
That's a good way to put how Pablo deals with this.
Yes. I agree.
Oh, that's appropriate.
Yeah. I think that's kind of, that's kind of obvious in a way, when you think about it. So, I don't know. Let's see. There isn't some war between Kathy and Favreau. They are on rather pleasant terms. Kathy seems to want him to take over once she retires or is promoted. Okay, fine. I don't know if that's in the cards for him, but and here they say Favreau may or may not take the position. Filoni has no interest in such a thing. So, which also makes sense.
I would venture to believe that neither one of those guys has any interest in that.
Right.
They're creators. They're not
exactly. They're
not
the
that
key.
Bureaucratic business person, right? Like,
right.
They're creators. They make stuff.
Yep.
They tell stories. They don't want to sit in boardrooms.
Yep. Totally. I mean, you can't be that separated from the actual work that's going on to do what these guys do. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, okay. So regarding the sequel trilogy, so each sequel director prioritized their scripts differently. Johnson was intoxicated with the themes. Trevorrow had been infatuated with the spectacle, and Abrams favored the concepts. Okay. This led to very different approaches to the sequels. Some Lucasfilm fancied, others not as much. Ray being the biggest disagreement. Abrams initially had hoped to work with George. That didn't work out when George walked. JJ had almost attempted the same, but Iger stopped him. What do you make of that?
I don't know about that.
Yeah?
Yeah, because like JJ almost walked. I mean, I don't buy that because George was out very early. I guess this could have been a behind the scenes thing, but
that's what I'm thinking.
I mean, obviously it was a behind the scenes thing, but I mean a very early on thing, like before we even knew. That's the only way I could believe that.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking I'm thinking that there we get a little insight into this from Iger's book, right? Where JJ, I think it was JJ and Kathy, right? They sit down with George and talk about some stuff, but then JJ wants to do some things his way or whatever. I forget exactly how that went down. But then all of a sudden George gets a script and is like, this is what we talked about, So I don't know. I think he wanted George's help and influence on his story. You know what I'm saying? And George was like, "Hey, I got these treatments. Here's the story." So I think there was, I don't know.
Yeah, George
I think,
George didn't want to be editor.
right. I think that whole situation there, we're getting all kinds of different sides of the story, and everyone's got their own little take on it to make themselves like kind of not the bad guy. You know what I mean?
You know, I really hope like within a couple years we get this nice behind the scenes look at all this.
Oh yeah, but
That's not rosy, you know?
I got a feeling we're never gonna see that.
Oh no, not from a Disney company.
Right.
You know, but I'm talking like some behind the scenes type stuff like they do with bands, right? Where you see the turmoil and the
Oh sure.
you know, I want to see people shouting at each other because I know it happened.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. So let's see here.
I mean, we gather around to talk about stories that centered around a galactic conflict. Of course we want to see conflict.
Exactly.
I want some drama. Damn
Yeah.
it.
You know, the thing is, when you think about it from a company standpoint, you know, that's something that they could sell. But they won't because they don't want to look bad, right? So
No, they want to come out looking really rosy in all of this, but I'm sorry, you can't put together this like scrapbook put together by 3 different people.
right.
Which is like the best way I could describe it because there's no cohesion.
Exactly. As fans, we're trying to put all these puzzle pieces together from 3 different puzzles. That's that's the problem.
Right.
All right. Let's see.
They all have X-Wings in it, so it's real confusing.
Yeah, right. Abrams wanted Rey to be the granddaughter of Anakin, eventually pushing for her to be Luke's daughter, and he had the fellow.
Wait, what? Hold on. Read that to me again.
Abrams wanted Rey to be the granddaughter of Anakin, eventually pushing for her to be Luke's daughter he had with a fellow rebel after the war.
Okay. It almost sounded like he settled. Like, okay, well, I'll do this instead of that. It's like, what doesn't that still make him Anakin's granddaughter? Or make her Anakin's granddaughter?
Right. It's the backstory to how Rey was left on Jakku changed several times. So as we're speculating about it, it sounds to me like that whole thing, and it's clear from that comic, you know, the Trevorrow script.
Well, yeah, that's another thing entirely.
Exactly. So as we're speculating about it, they didn't even know. Gotta love it. Yeah. Backstory.
You know, and that seems very like, I'm sorry, like from a writing perspective, right? That seems very foundational. You know, that seems like something that would affect a character from the get-go.
Right. Should be in the outline. It's exactly.
So for, you know, something like that to be changing as it goes along, as well as everything else. But that seems like one of the foundational things that should have been decided early on. So you had a goal. You know, this is where she came from. This is where she's going.
Yeah, exactly. A direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had a goal.
What a concept.
You fill in the gaps. You got point A, point B, and you fill in the middle.
Yep, absolutely.
So
So
otherwise, how do you write the middle? If you don't know what the end goal is, how do you come up with what the middle is?
exactly. Well, clearly the middle gets a little squishy, I guess we can say. Here's something though that they had kind of firmed up. Abrams had seen Kylo as a tragic villain and wanted to tell a dark what-if story to the redemption of Vader. Ben Solo would have always been redeemed, but only through death. And there we have, it seems like every version we got of his story ended the same way. Which could lend itself as to why so many people like that character, right? Because it's pretty solid train of thought for where that character is going to end up.
Well, for most.
Yeah, well, I mean, for the character himself, right? I mean, yeah.
Because there's a large following out there that thinks that, he should have had a happy ever after with Rey.
Well,
they're taking the Disney part of this way too seriously.
Yes, exactly.
Like, you can't come back from genocide. I think I said that earlier.
Yeah, we did. We talked about that.
Yeah.
Now we also talked about this character. Let's see. Finn being a Jedi was also something Disney producers thought was quote unquote too much. If John Boyega was cast, Abrams,
I got a question.
Abrams was forced to water down the subplot in The Force Awakens. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm glad that you just kept reading. You're like, no, Joe, you're going to wait until I'm done, damn it.
Yep.
So they thought it was too much.
Yeah.
I saw the first trailer.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And we were led on to believe that he was going to be the Jedi.
Absolutely.
From the beginning.
Yes.
That was the tease.
Yes.
But it would have been too much.
Yeah.
Get out of my face with that crap.
Well,
is that their feeling? Like there can only be one in the movies?
I don't know.
There could only be.
It doesn't make sense though, does it? I mean,
it makes zero sense.
Right.
It makes zero sense. The fact of the matter is they wanted to tell Rey's story, and that's it. They should just come out and say it. We wanted to tell Rey's story, to hell with every other character, because that's what they did.
Right.
Finn got the short end, Rose got the short end, Poe got the short end. Like, all these characters they introduced and they never did anything with them.
Yeah. So
they had a hell of a fun time putting them in all the promotional content like they were going to mean something and parading them around like this was a big deal.
Absolutely. It's pretty clear. It's as this goes on, you kind of get a sense of how the creatives and Lucasfilm either did or did not see eye to eye, and it's a little bit interesting as we go on here. Lucasfilm asked Abrams to set up a romance between Poe and Rey. Abrams refused. To sum it up, Abrams was not on the same page with the powers that be. Next bullet point here says, Ryan was far more helpful with Lucasfilm, working with them instead of against them. Let's see. Stories are always being changed. Let's see. Lucasfilm wanted Star Wars to move past the Skywalkers, pushing for them to be retired or killed. Yeah. Ryan was less concerned with the beginning or ending, rather what he could do with his chapter. Lucasfilm gave him creative control, just as long as he took their notes.
Well, that sure makes him sound like less of a creative genius.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's like, there were the powers that be who wanted certain things to happen, and he was more than happy to accommodate. It sounds like. Let's see. Enter the return of Abrams, as well as the same conflicts from 2014 through 15. Abrams had pitched a 2-part film. Part 1 to cover the aftermath of The Last Jedi and establish his narrative. Part 2 as the closure. Disney said no, clearly. That's something that you and I talked about for a long time leading up to The Rise of Skywalker.
And even after.
Yeah, like how I remember thinking, how are they going to wrap this up in 2 hours? It's just not, and clearly wrapping it up in 2 hours got pretty major head spin a little.
Yeah, I mean, and so my main argument for that is we never got a true Act 2. Okay?
Right.
I mean, in the sense of how Star Wars trilogies typically function. You got Act 1, a little bit of a time jump. Act 2, a little bit of a time jump. In the sequel trilogy, you had Act 1, let's pick up immediately, this is Act 2. If Act 3 isn't going to pick up immediately, then you need to do something to fill that, to flesh out that interim.
Yeah.
Because now you've had a direct storyline and now you're going to time jump all of a sudden?
Yeah. It's pretty amazing.
So we got Act 1, Act 1.5, and then Act 3, and everybody's like, wow, this made no sense. Like, no shit.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's see. The earliest completed script for Episode 9 under Abrams and Terrio had ended up a hybrid of The Rise of Skywalker and Duel of the Fates. One of the working titles for this script had been named Heirs to the Force. I heard the sigh.
Well, good. So, I think that's dumb,
What's dumb?
that name.
Oh, okay.
Heirs to the Force.
Right.
As if the Force is owned by anybody.
Oh, I got you.
Like it's been the Skywalker's possession for the prior 8 movies.
Yeah, I get what you're saying there. I feel like this is when it says a hybrid of the 2 scripts, Rise of Skywalker and Duel of Fates. A lot of these points here, these bullet points at this point are saying a lot of what we just went over with that comic. A lot of this stuff is basically laid out here.
Right.
And, we actually talked about how some of that stuff would have been better, or, how we liked some of it as opposed to what we got in The Rise of Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. Here's something that has been rumored as recently, and I chuckled because I'm going to hear you sigh again. The question is there a JJ cut? And
I'll give you a
okay. The way he puts it is the answer is yes and no, with no being highlighted. But we all know it's no. But let's see, differences between the theatrical and Abrams cut of The Rise of Skywalker. The runtime would be 4 hours, right?
perfect.
Where's Matt Smith? Remember all the casting rumor of Matt Smith?
Mhm.
Thinking young Palpatine, something like that. Yeah. Nowhere to be found. Palpatine's role consistently changed from dark spirit to possession to eventually rescued zombie clone. Original role was just a cameo for the fans as it was in Duel of the Fates. So, that was something else that apparently was a Lucasfilm thing. The bringing back Palpatine to the degree that he was brought back. Rey's parents had been Luke and a Force archaeologist who found Anakin's lightsaber after the events of the OT. But before the sequel trilogy, we never learn her name in this story. Interesting.
Force archaeologist.
Yeah, Force archaeologist. You know. Yeah.
So if she found Anakin's lightsaber, why did Maz Kanata have it?
Well, that's a good story for another time. I don't know. That's a good story that I would have loved to have seen play out over the course of the next two films. Would have been great, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Just saying. I don't know. Anakin's Force Ghost would have appeared with the younger Force Ghosts of Luke and Leia to say goodbye forever.
Huh?
Interesting. This is all I'll talk, from the quote unquote JJ cut they're talking about. Ben would have appeared as a Force Ghost with his mother and made amends to Rey silently. Yeah. It's a good thing some of this stuff didn't happen.
Yeah, that's dumb too.
So I think that's all we'll touch on here.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it is sounding a lot like the Duel of the Fates that we touched on earlier, and a lot of it is a combination of what we got in Duel of the Fates. And, you can see where Duel of the Fates bled over into the Rise of Skywalker in a lot of aspects. So, I think there's, the one thing I will say is either the 4-hour cut or part 1 and part 2 would have been the way to go. I just, huh?
I agree.
It just seems like everything was way too rushed in the Rise of Skywalker. So
I still would make an argument against part 1 and part 2 and go for just making 9 and 10.
Okay.
Just to open up old wounds.
Yeah.
But in either case, yeah, it was a two movies would have been better for the finale. You're trying to wrap up a lot in a little bit of time. I don't know how you expected to get a concise story out of that. You just weren't going to get it.
Right. Which,
as much as I have not a ton of love for J.J. Abrams, I will say he was put into a no-win situation there.
I agree. I think he did a good job with what, he had to work with. And it seems to me, more now than ever before, that he had a lot of constraints put on him. The tensions with Lucasfilm and stuff. I didn't realize that, if what we just touched on here is all true, then it seems like, those tensions are a lot deeper than we might have realized before.
Oh, I'm sure it's all true from a certain point of view.
Sure. Right. It's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, I mean, it all sounds like it has some basis in reality.
Right.
How accurate all of it is, I'm not sure. It could be, slightly jaded based on said person's personal feelings towards person A or person B.
True.
But I would say that there's probably some basis in reality here. And it's somewhat accurate, but maybe, like I said, from a slightly jaded point of view.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Because it did seem to target certain people and, exonerate others.
To some degree, yeah.
I mean, I really feel like it's someone on JJ's team.
Right?
Because JJ came out glowing here.
Yeah. I see where you're coming from with that. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but yeah. I mean, we'll see how everything goes going forward. See if they learn from any of this.
Well, I hope so. I hope that, Lucasfilm is kind of like, if they're going to let someone be creative, I sure hope that they've learned a lot working with John and Dave. You know what I mean? If you give people that kind of control,
there's something to this cohesion thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I knew we were missing something. A plan would have worked.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we still got to see how all this stuff ages, right?
Absolutely. That's
there'll be stories and stuff to fill the gaps, the interim. We got to see how this all ages before we pass total judgment here.
right.
It could end up aging well. We don't know.
Yeah.
Just to kind of shun something away because it's different from what we've seen. That would be the mistake a lot of people made with the prequels, right?
Absolutely.
They shunned them, and now all of a sudden the prequels are gaining a little bit more love. And it's because of stuff like the Clone Wars and stuff filling in gaps for people and like, oh, wow, I guess that did make sense.
Yeah.
So, time will tell.
Well, that is one thing about Star Wars is,
Always in motion.
always in motion, and it's always, it's always, stood the test of time. So we'll see how it goes for this. Be interesting.
Yeah. All right. Couple rapid fire things.
Yeah.
We're going a little long here. But which is a nice problem to have.
Sure.
So, the Bad Batch.
Yes.
Circle back around.
Yeah. By this time
first thing,
tomorrow,
not going to
be
dwell on
watching.
this. What was that?
I said by this time tomorrow, I'll be watching it, right? Approximately. Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
So yeah, the Bad Batch. First thing, quick fire thing. Not really necessarily tied to the Bad Batch, but I'm gonna go ahead and tie it to it.
Okay.
So Matt Lanter was talking with EW,
Uh-huh.
and he was, of course, asked about Star Wars.
Why wouldn't you? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's what you do, right?
Right.
So he said, there's some new Lucasfilm animation going on. I've been a part of some things I can't talk about yet. You'll see Anakin again.
Oh.
He says, I never quite put Anakin down, whether I'm doing a video game or something new for Lucasfilm animation. So he's teasing that there's some new Matt Lanter version Anakin stuff coming.
Huh.
I tend to think that this is going to be Bad Batch. And we're going to see an appearance from Anakin.
Okay.
In the trailer, we saw Rex.
Right. Yep, you're right.
What was Rex's job?
Keep Anakin in line?
But he was captain of what?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 501st, right.
501st, which was whose division?
Vader's Fist. Oh, wait. That was later. Right. Yeah, gotcha.
It was later.
Yeah.
But Rex was there, which means it was pre-order 66.
Right.
It's Rex, so it's the 501st, which means Anakin's probably nearby.
Yeah. I like the thought. It's a good one.
And I'm never disappointed to see Matt Lanter's Anakin.
Oh, heck yeah.
He did such a fantastic job.
Totally. That would be cool. I like that.
So, yep. Totally geared up for season 8 of the Clone Wars.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Spoiler time.
Ooh. Spoiler. Yes. We have that.
So I understand we're only days away from the release of the Bad Batch. But.
Yes. So this is actually something that's been around. It's been making rounds a little bit, but I've kind of laid off this because, I didn't want to spoil everything right out the get go, and anyway, if you don't want to hear anything about the Bad Batch, just stop now. This is pretty confirmed spoilery here. So
yes.
Here we go. There is it's a photo on Reddit, right?
Oh, here we go again.
Yeah, but this is an actual photo of the packaging for the Black Series Crosshair figure. So what it says on the box is, formerly a member of the Bad Batch. Crosshair's loyalties shift after his team defects from the Imperial service. Committed to the Empire, Crosshair leads a new squad of enlisted recruits. So, I guess, Crosshair is not going to be a member of the team so much, huh?
Well, we said we love drama.
That's for sure.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, if there's anyone that's going to defect, right, from your group.
You don't want it to be the sniper, right?
Yeah, I mean, the worst possible one.
Exactly. That is funny.
The hacker, okay, that would suck.
Yeah, right.
The strong guy, okay, yeah, that would suck.
Yep.
The sniper?
He can take you out at any time.
Like, oh yeah, you had to pick the dude that could do it with you not seeing him coming, and you're just done.
Oh, exactly. That is funny. But yeah.
Well, I'm interested to see how this turns out.
Yeah, me too. I got a feeling too that this is all going to happen like pretty quick. I mean, for them to come out with the figure, you know, as such as the one who defected, I can't see this being, you know, deep into the season or anything because, you know.
Yeah, the figure leak is coming out already, which means it's close to release.
Right.
Yeah, that means probably not a end of season 1 twist.
Right. Seeing as how the first episode is 70 minutes, I got a feeling we're going to get hit with a lot that first episode. Just my gut feeling.
Yeah. Well, we ain't got long till we're going to talk about it.
That's right. And that I can't wait for.
Yep. So that's going to be the highlight next week for sure.
Heck yeah.
70 minutes of Star Wars animation goodness.
Uh-huh.
You know, in the style of the Clone Wars, which was just so exciting.
For sure.
All right. Well, if you have anything to add, you can always email us, show@thewarsandmore.com. It's the best way to get a hold of us. We're also on social media. We're at The Wars and More on Twitter, facebook.com/thewarsandmore. You can find all that and all the ways to find the show over at thewarsandmore.com. Any final thoughts this week, Doug?
No, I think we about covered it.
All right. We'll talk next week.